It's an event that will bring thousands of people to downtown Jacksonville over the weekend. The Jacksonville Home and Patio Show continues today and Sunday at the Prime Osborne Convention Center. The keynote speaker of the event is HGTV interior designer Patrick Flynn. And before you see him live on the stage at the Home and Patio Show, he joined us for a conversation about designing the inside of the HGTV Dream Home on Anastasia Island.
When I knew that the HGTV Dream Home 2024 was happening on Anastasia Island, I got super stoked because I was born and raised in Fort Lauderdale, and one of our biggest field trips every few years in grade school and middle school would be to St. Augustine. And I hadn't been there since probably the early 90s, and I had the most amazing memories of how European and old school it felt. So when we were designing the house, we worked with a builder called Glenn Layton Homes, and they had the idea of doing a very traditional style coastal home, which is exactly what I wanted. So the idea was to take a lot of the textures and materials that you see in the super old parts of St. Augustine and use those inside the house. So we brought the St. Augustine ideas to life mostly with some materials versus being very literal, like with colors and art and furniture styles that you would have found in more Spanish style homes.
I'm glad to bring up Spanish style homes because a lot of the beaches community has that mixture of Spanish, and then you can see ultra modern with like clean lines, things like that. Where do you see the trend and aesthetic going as people begin to design with more of a forward thinking design pattern rather than what might be trendy yesterday, for example?
That mixture is really weird, isn't it? Isn't it a weird mixture to see together, to see like this super like concrete and glass thing next to something that's got a tile roof with stucco and the crushed up shelves. I love that juxtaposition. I feel like a lot of European cities are made that way. So I love that. So the way that we took that idea and made it relevant for the area was not in a literal manner. What we did is we stuck with like very traditional style and transitional style furnishings. But as far as like the exterior of the house is concerned, instead of going with a lot of the beiges or the more muddy reds or the brick reds you'd see all over the area, we decided to just go with like really cool gray tones, which is a little bit more on the, something that you'd see in 2024. But overall, I love the mix of styles there. I was expecting everything to be Spanish, but if we did an all Spanish home, it really truly wouldn't have captured the essence of Anastasia Island because every other house there is not. So that was something I learned when I got down there, is that the Spanish homes are not there. Maybe 30% of the homes there are the old Spanish style, and a lot of the other ones have been built from the 60s forward.
Speaking of 60s forward, huge suburban explosions throughout all the United States and definitely in Northeast Florida as well. When you come to the Home and Patio Show, what are some talking points that you expect to just be going on and on and on with the people who are going to be lined up to just pick your brain about redesigning their homes?
One of the things that I really want to talk about, which is unique, is that when you see interior design on television, it is a completely different animal than interior design that I do that doesn't involve a camera having to capture the spaces when I'm done. So the plan is to put together a talk for all the people who come to the show who can see exactly what goes behind creating a space that millions and millions of people are going to have their eyes on, and hopefully, if I do my job right, enter for a chance to win it. So part of the discussion that we're going to have, and I've been spending weeks on this presentation now, is how different colors look on camera once they're lit with artificial light. How to take ideas that you see like on TV that are home related and do it in a much longer timeline, because TV shows are truncated. Like you don't have 8 months to shoot. You usually have like maybe 6 to 8 weeks. But in real life, people spend, about a year deciding on the sofa and the paint color and the fan and the rug. So I kind of want to bridge the gap between the two and show what the difference is and why. Because it's fascinating that if you're doing something that's going to be captured for television, there has to be a crew there, which means you have to have something to shoot. But in real life, a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to choose the right paint color. It might take them 3 months to decide on the right white for their living room. And that's part of what I want to talk about because I just want to keep it real.
I'm glad you brought up the right white because for a lot of people who are diving into home renovations, eggshell is not avalanche and snow is not white or even alabaster. There's so many different variations of what would normally be just considered, oh, that's a white wall. When it comes to tile, and specifically like backsplash in a kitchen, What are your thoughts on your typical white subway tile versus going maybe an off-white cream to maybe match cabinetry?
I get in trouble a lot with the design community because I am one of the few interior designers who is absolutely 100% all for beveled white subway tile because it has been around for over a century. It's never going anywhere. It is remarkably low in the price point category, but it is a way to be able to save so you can splurge somewhere else. So as far as the difference between like backsplash tiles, you could go with a statement backsplash tile, which means you're going to want to have cabinets that aren't trying to steal the show. Is the backsplash going to tone down how much personality the cabinets have? Or did we go safe with our cabinetry and do we want to have a little bit of a more memorable moment with the backsplash? So I'm always a fan of a beveled white subway. Keep in mind, beveled. It's a massive difference if you don't do the bevel. It adds dimension. I'm not a huge fan of the cream. And the reason being is pure white works beautifully with every color out there without having what's called color influence. So like when you have things outside of your window, like I grew up in Florida, so a bunch of green with the palm trees or a bunch of brown from sand, that will reflect its color values onto the whites that you have in your house. So the reason I don't love to go with cream is when you put cream next to like a really bold blue or a bold pink or a bold yellow, the cream kind of reads like it's in the brown family, not in a good way. But when you stick with a pure ultra white beveled white subway tile, it's so purely white that it doesn't argue with the other colors. So that would be my answer to you, is if you're going to choose between something that's bone or cream, I'll get in trouble because most designers would say go with cream. I like the pure white just because I think it gives you more opportunity to play with color all around it.
Brian, I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours about very specific design options, but I'm going to have to let you go. And I hope you have a wonderful time with all the people who come out to see you at the Jacksonville Home and Patio Show.